Allah did not place upon the shoulders of anyone in this country to take the life of another human being. Allah didn't make you the hakim. Allah didn't make you the Amir al-Mu'mineen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't make you the qadi or the judge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't make you the executioner. That you are the one who's going to carry out the hudud. That you are going to carry out the hadd of Allah, the prescribed punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is for the ruler to do. It's not for the general folk to do. But shaitan will push them and nudge them further and further, up until the shaitan will tell them, you have to establish the hadd of Allah in this land. And then you find them killing and murdering in the name of Allah in this country, claiming that it is from the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is now shaitan, who looks at the heart of the one who is ardent. Upon the one whose heart, he looks at it, he looks at that person, and he finds that, you know what, I can push him further. I can make him do things, because this person, you can't convince him to drink, or to fornicate, or to give up the prayer. Shaitan can't do that to him. Why? Because shaitan can see him, that this individual wants to do more and more. He doesn't want to do any less. So he says, okay, do more. Are you willing to establish the hadd of Allah? So shaitan beautifies for him things that are forbidden for him to do. This is the right of the hakim. Allah didn't give it to him. Allah gave it to the Muslim ruler. So if the ruler is not implementing it, none of us become hukam. We don't say, well, I'll become the hakim, and you become the qadi, and you become the executioner, and so on. This is not the way. And this is what shaitan does. Makes them exaggerate in the religion. Then, to another group of people, shaitan looks at their hearts. How does he look at it? By looking at their speech and their actions, and he sees that they're always lazy, lackadaisical, slow to act upon the deen. So then shaitan pushes them in that direction, not to act upon the religion. You don't have to do that. You don't have to pray the sunnah. You don't have to fast that much. You don't have to make dhikr that much. So shaitan pulls him away, and he's happy to be pulled away. Why? Because he doesn't like worship anyway. He only does it because he's nudged and he's pushed. He finds it hard. Doesn't want to get to Fajr. Doesn't want to pray the salawat. Doesn't want to give sadaqah. So when shaitan says, you don't have to give sadaqah, what does he say? Why should you give sadaqah? Once a year is enough. And even that once a year you can't really afford, so don't bother giving the zakat. So shaitan nudges him up until he says, well, actually, it's in your heart. Iman is just in your heart, not in your deeds. Then what does he become? Murji. He becomes from the murji'ah. So then he regards outward actions that they are not even from Iman. Iman is something in the heart. So this is, you find those people turning around and saying, you can't judge me. I believe in my heart. Don't judge me by my actions. My Iman is in my heart. So he removes actions from Iman, from the musamma of Iman. So shaitan leads the people down these two tracks. So those individuals who commit those crimes in this country in the name of Islam. And there's a difference between a person who harms someone, or mugs someone, or even kills someone out of greediness for this dunya, and the one who kills a person believing that he's implementing the law of Allah. Which one is worse? The one who believes that he's implementing the law of Allah by taking the soul of another person. This one is worse than the one who kills a person to take his wallet and take his money. This one is much worse. Why? Because now he believes that what I've done is an act of obedience. Let me go and do another act of obedience. And let me tell the people that this is an act of obedience and encourage them to do it. Whereas the one who mugs and the one who kills, he hides his sin. For many reasons. He hides it because he regards it and he knows, even the kafir, he knows that what he has done is wrong. So he feels humiliated and embarrassed for what he has done. And he keeps it secret. Whereas these people, they announce. Why? Because they believe that they are doing what they're doing as a part of the deen. So shaitan has taken them. Just like shaitan took the Khawarij in the time of Abdullah ibn Abbas. Look what when the shaitan came to them, and he said to them, that you people, you follow the Quran and the Sunnah more than them. More than who? More than Ali, and Ibn Abbas, and Muawiyah, and Hassan, and other than them, radiyallahu anhum ajma'een, who were still alive at that time, and Ibn Umar and others. that you follow the Quran, the Sunnah more than they do. Why? Because you want the law of Allah to be established. They don't want the law of Allah to be established. That's what they said about Ali. He doesn't want the hukum of Allah. He wants the hukum of the Taghut. This is why he sent men to judge in the affair of Allah. So this is what those Khawarij, look how Shaitan came to them. And Shaitan said to them, you're better than them. Why? Because you make ibadah more than they make ibadah. You make sajda more than they make sajda. Look at the marks on your heads. You don't even sleep at night. Don't sleep at night. Pray all through the night. Shaitan is telling them to make ibadah through the night and don't sleep. Shaitan is telling them to read the Quran over and over again. This is Shaitan telling them. You think Shaitan is calling them to an act of obedience? Shaitan will use these wasa'il and use these paths and use the deen itself to call the people to go astray. That's what he did with the Sufis, with Ahl Tasawwuf. Use the religion to make them go astray. So likewise with these Khawarij. So what they believe, they advertise and they openly proclaim that this is just, as they say, that this is a cheek for a cheek or an eye for an eye. Who are you to implement the eye for an eye? Who are you to implement the hadd of Allah? If someone steals, you chop off his hand. Who are you to chop off the hand? If you say this is different, this is something else, then why is it different? Why is it something else? You have established the hadd of Allah. This is the prescribed punishment of Allah that you established upon the people. Who are you to establish this upon anybody? This is the haqq of Allah. Allah has given it to the hakim. Allah has given it to the khalifa. Allah has given it to the wali al-amr, the one in charge of the affairs. You take it in your own hands and you implement the hadd of Allah, and then you claim that this is from the deen of Allah. This is Shaitan has deceived them. You can do more. You're a pious man. You can do more and more, do more. What shall I do? Establish the hadd of Allah. Establish the hudud of Allah. Go and kill this one. Go and beat up that one. Go and chop off the hand of this one. Go and chop the head of that one. Shayateen. Shayateen who roam around the earth, putting these ideas into the minds of the youth. And then these youth, masakeen, don't know anything. Never studied. Never met an alim in their lives. Whilst those who gave them this fitna, those shayateen from the army of Iblis, that they sit in their homes sniggering at what they have done to the lives of the youth. It's sad. It's sad. But this is the reality of what's taking place. And then, as a result of that, like Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah said, and Ibn Taymiyyah and others, that even if you wanted to forbid an evil, this wasn't an evil they were forbidding, because it's not for them to forbid that evil, whatever evil they claimed that they were forbidding, in establishing, as they claim, was the hadd of Allah. Hadd of Allah is not established like this. Where's the Qadi? Where's the ruler? Where's the Wali al-Amr? Where's the Islamic country? Where's the Dawla Islamiyah? That you are establishing this under whose authority? Whose authority? And then even if you claim that you are forbidden an evil, then those ulama of the Salaf, look at the fiqh of Ahlul Ilm, the fiqh of the A'immah. If you forbid an evil, and by forbidding that evil, a greater evil results, then you are accountable for the extra sin that was the extra fasad and the extra corruption that occurred as a result of you forbidding that sin. So now, if Muslims are harmed, and Muslims are beaten, and Muslims are ostracized, and Muslims are abused, and Muslims are sworn at, and Muslims are mugged, because of this act, then that extra fitna that occurred due to your hands, then you take the responsibility for that Yawm al-Qiyamah. Why? Because the evil is not forbidden unless you know, because you're a faqih, because you have understanding and you have fiqh. Why? Because you sat with the scholars and you understood the knowledge of the scholars, that you knew at this moment in time, I'm not going to forbid that evil. Why? Because it's going to lead to, if it was an evil, and even if it was your responsibility in the first place anyway. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, look what he said to Aisha radiallahu anha. He said, "Oh Aisha, were it not for the fact that your people had recently left Jahiliyyah, wallahi, I would have knocked down this Kaaba, its two walls. And then I would have rebuilt it upon the foundations of Ibrahim alayhi salam, with a door to the east and a door to the west. This is what the messenger said, but he didn't do it. Why? Because of the fact that those people, that your people, O Aisha, meaning Quraysh, that they have only newly left Jahiliyyah. They won't understand what I'm doing. So he didn't do it, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Why? Because the forbidding, because that thing that you wanted to do, knock down the Kaaba, rebuild it, enjoying that good, then he knew that those people, they would not understand. And then they would start speaking. And this would cause problems. And this would cause problems. So how about the fact that you do something, and the Prophet ﷺ was the ruler. He had the arms and the apparatus of government. He had the dawla. He had Sahaba around him who had spent 22 years in his service. Yet the Messenger of Allah withheld. And he was the ruler. And in this situation, where people go into the streets and they stab and they hack and they murder individuals, they don't have a right to do so because they have no authority from Allah. Because they are not Waliul Amr. They are not the Wulatul Umur. And they are not the rulers. Allah didn't give them that. And they are not Qudat. They are not judges. And they do not have a Dawla Islamiyah to carry out anything. So you see the corruption in what happens. And then thereafter, in the evil that they did, then thereafter you find that the outcome of what they did is more harm upon the Muslims. More constriction upon the Muslims. More questions when you try to leave the country. More questions when you go and make Umrah or come back from France or Germany where your families live. More problems, more fitna, more fasad because of the action of it. And who's sniggering in the background? Those shayateen who taught them this fitna and this fasad. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kill them